This year's the tiebreaker.
I'm realizing there is so much parity in this race this year. I mean, this is going to be a completely different race than all of the other races that we've done.
Each year is different. Each year has new challenges, new drama to be had.
Ma'am.
So, let's get to the questions. Yeah, currently. Next year, I'm announcing my retirement. 2023, we are here, we're ready to race. Mille Mille has had a spectacular many years, and each year is different. Each year has new challenges, new drama to be had.
So, little bit of backstory here, coming into Mille Mille 3, just to kind of set the stage for Mille Mille 4.
Mille 4 thoughts. So Mille 3 was scary at times. It was an arms race.
Level of commitment, the level of dedication, the level of preparation from all parties has escalated significantly.
You might be able to tell I sort of live for this race by now. It's truly the thing that brings me almost the most joy in my life. I look forward to it all year long. I'm just riding the excitement from Mille Mille 3.
Has an asterisk on it because it's not quite official, but it's official. We did win it, I just want to point that out.
We had worked for months and months and planned out an amazing race, and a few short weeks before we were set to leave, Shane, co-captain of the number 10 Dynaco team, called a special members meeting.
2022 had its own challenges even before the race began. I let my teammate know that, well, one, we were pregnant and we were due to have our child, not affecting Mille Mille race at all, but due to unforeseen circumstances, we almost had to emergency deliver our child in a third world country, and things got really dicey, and we had to speed up the process of delivering our child into this world with a scheduled C-section that just happened to fall on the date 2 days before the start of Mille Mille 2022. So I made the tough call to choose my family over Mille. I told my partner there's only one thing that could keep me from Mille, and that's the birth of my child. And of course, it just happens to be when we're racing. So the race had to go on, and I had to bow out. But I was blessed with the birth of my second child, and it was an amazing moment. I was there for the departure of the 2022 race.
At that same meeting, Brian, in his infinite glory, he's like, I'm just gonna run the race by myself then, because I don't run with anybody but Captain Sully. And we're like, time out. Absolutely not. Like, this is a team event, and you don't get to just run this, you don't get to run this race by yourself. Like, there is so many dynamics that happen in team competition that occur, and you got to bring a teammate.
So I brought in a new co-pilot, my brother, last year, but also Captain Sully, Sugar Shane Austin, is our chief storyteller and videographer. So no video emerged from Texas last year, but a race was had, and it was a race indeed. Amazing speeds and driving across South Texas. We had a great time.
You know, there were times at Mille 3 where when I was driving, I mean, there were times where I was doing 135, 140 miles an hour. We won't acknowledge those things. We can bleep those out, but we were moving and we saw some amazing scenery, and we were doing that at times where there's no one on the road, the asphalt condition's great, and some of the most memorable times I've ever had driving were during Mille 3, especially just outside of Big Bend National Park in West Texas.
It was interesting. We had a great time, phenomenal trip, and the .99 did in fact emerge victorious, but there were some outlying conditions. I'll just say it this way, we would have claimed it as a victory had we won, but the fact that we lost, there's definitely a huge asterisk on last year.
Here we are, 2023. This is the real rubber match. This is the tiebreaker. And I'm looking forward to some of the nuances in the rules. It's always gonna be fun.
We put our categories and our routes into a randomizer wheel, which was a lot of fun. The route this year is the Colorado route. That's the one that won out.
We're staying in amazing places. We're gonna summit 5, 6, 7 incredible mountain passes in Colorado, which are places that people literally put on their bucket list to summit. We're gonna do that all in one trip.
This year, car category is Volkswagen Beetles. I gotta be honest with you, not excited about one bit about this car category. I've never liked Volkswagens.
Quickly, and when we drew Beetles, it was an exciting challenge. One of the things I loved about it though, in high school, one of my closest friends had a 2003 black Beetle Turbo S. And that car was so fast, so fun. And when we drew Beetles, I knew exactly what we wanted to get.
You may or may not know that I have the most prima donna partner that you could have. I have sent Mackenzie, I'm not kidding you, no less than 15 cars that have been turned down. The only car that he will allow me to purchase, which is an absolute unicorn because they only made very few of them, is the new Beetle Turbo S. It was only in production from the year 2001 to the year 2004. So I have spent hours and hours and hours scouring the internet to find one of these. It has been one of the most frustrating processes that you could ask. But we have located one in Denver.
I do think there's a big concern about this in the sense that there's going to be greater parity of vehicles before than we've ever had, in the sense that there's a pretty tight range of vehicles you can find for $1,000 that are Volkswagen Beetles that have the power and the mechanical condition to carry them over a mountain pass. So that's going to be a challenge, but and I do think that our vehicles, regardless of trims and certain things, I think our vehicles are going to be very tightly matched to one another. So that's going to be fun. I think it's just going to come down to, you know, the factors that manifest for each team. And I'm Irish, so I feel lucky.
Coming into Mille Mille 4, I think we've learned a lot, but we've also determined, based on the speeds, based on everything, like there is a certain amount of equipment that is required if we're going to continue down this racing path. And so a significant amount of effort has been placed in the lead up to this race in researching equipment that will make it safer, but also reduce the chance that we get arrested by the police, knowing now how crazy we are.
The .99 continues to complain about the rule changes, and they think that we're just doing it for a competitive advantage. We are just doing it because we invited a guy named CK onto this race. And everybody else has discretion, but we will literally die following this guy through thick and thin.
So yes, we had to implement what we're calling the Fredericksburg Addendum,
which CK was behind the wheel. And we decided that not only our safety is not a factor, but the safety of others as well, the people that we are not responsible for and stuff. It's getting a little dicey because we're getting very competitive, and we all are very competitive, and we all put it on the line, and we all send it. And we built in a no wake zone rule this year.
No wake zone, we're stealing it from boating term, but you don't break any rules. No speeding, no running red lights, not even 1 mile an hour over the speed limit.
Part of Mille this year is we added in a few more fun challenges just to have extra incentive. So we're calling it Mille Mille Bingo. If you connect 5 bingo squares in a row, then you actually get a minute time bonus. And so if you connect good driving with some fun shenanigans along the way, it really can be advantageous. And the idea is to continue to have more race and incentives even off the clock, off racing time, so even into the night, some fun things to be had.
The reveal night was, how we've changed the format of this race, and we learned so much over the first 2 years of how to really create some drama, create some, anticipation between the two teams. There's a whole lot of secrecy, a significant amount of misdirection.
Reveal night's always exciting because you finally get to see what the other team has been keeping close to their vest.
I'm like a kid on Christmas because I love to see what the other team has built. Of course, we're excited to show them what we've built. There's a lot of pride associated with the hard work and time you've put into the preparation of this. And so I'm so excited to see what they've built.
Reveal in 3, 2, 1.
Turbo S. Dude, yes. You don't have a TDI. We do not have a TDI. You have a Turbo S.
They're the same car. Essentially the same freaking thing.
First impressions of the .99 car. It looks like it's owned by a sheik, just to be perfectly honest. Though the .99 car, I will say this, it's beautiful.
I mean, there's only so many ways you can go when you get Beetle. 1.8T is the best engine to go with when you factor in fuel efficiency, especially when you're trying to buy at $1,000. There were bigger power plants, there were more powerful powertrains that came out in the later years, but finding a car like that under $1,000 is really hard to do.
So we determined pole position was going to be settled by a partner's game of beer pong, and Team Dynaco number 10 emerged victorious. So maybe for the first time in Mille history, we're starting first. So I'm excited about that.
At this moment, this is going to be a completely different race than all of the other races that we've done because we're going to be leaving at the same time. It's not like I'm going to be able to, Mac and I won't be able to outrun them based on engine performance or any of that alone. This one's, it's really going to be strategy. And so leaving the reveal night, Mac and I's heads are, we're both just gears spinning, trying to figure out where all of the edges are, where we can gain any little second. And the real planning starts now.
In anticipation of the start, CK really spearheaded getting our car ready to race.
Well, it's about 2 a.m.
I literally stayed up for 2-3 hours and literally charted every single checkpoint, every single part of the race course, memorized every single checkpoint on Google Streets, which hashtag Google Streets, it does work. Charted out mileage because I knew with gear ratio difference that it might come down to gas and mileage.
Let's start with this. Volkswagens are pieces of I hate this car like with my whole body and soul. I mean, it's a great car. It's awesome, but it'll do the job. That's what Mille's about, is taking something that's not great and making it great.
We didn't prepare much. When you buy the right car at the right price, there's not a whole lot to do. So I'm looking forward to seeing what our little Beetle can do. All right, day one, Mille Mille, the moment we've all been waiting for.
And I could hardly sleep last night. I'm bursting like out of my clothes. I'm so excited. We've prepped all year. It's been 365 days since we have raced, and I couldn't be more excited. I will say shenanigans are already starting. So as soon as we pull up to the Mille farm, Shane and Brian are at it again.
There's always stickers that we gotta put on their car just to make sure that they're ready to race. And we put stickers on our car as well in the category fashion of being German made. We had to put some German stickers on, and once you Google translate it, in spirit of a two-car race, if you ain't first, you're last. That is on ours, and good old shake and bake on the passenger side door. .99 gets a nice German decal of second place champions. We've got our stickers. It's lights out. It's green light go.
Mille Mille on 3. 1, 2, 3. Mille Mille.
We come out of Corrales at the speed limit.
There was no wake zone through Albuquerque. We're leaving, the 10 cars in pole position, and CK's at the helm, and we're trying to figure out what is the appropriate strategy the first day, because we're right next to each other, everybody's within eye shot of each other. What is the appropriate strategy to play out for the rest of the race? And really what we came down on was we need to see what their car can do. It is all about stretching them to see how far they can get on a tank of gas, because we knew that would be an issue.
There are a lot of cops to start this race. We go by cop after cop, and it's just keeping us all in check. Once we get past Glorieta, which we kind of lost an idea of where they were around Glorieta, that's when we really started to open up and had them in our sights, and we decided to just stay on their bumper. But we are blowing through gas. And these cars were not built to drive the way that we are driving them. We are realizing our fuel deficiencies immediately.
I'm gonna wing it here for a second, but I think if you look at this car online and look at the fuel economy and the fuel efficiency statistics, it's gonna show roughly like 27 or 28 miles per gallon, which is pretty good. But it turns out when you lift it and you put off-road tires on it and you drive it flat out at 100 miles an hour plus for 170 miles, that fuel gauge drops pretty quick. The car's fuel economy was probably roughly cut in half from what we were expected. So
we weren't 50 miles into this race before we started talking about how strange it was that they were so comfortable being as far back as they were out of eye shot. And CK, I mean, I gotta tip my hat to him, man. He's like, those put a GPS tracker in our car. And we started thinking about how they could have done it. And he's like, I wonder if they put one in the satellite phone. And I was like, dude, lo and behold, we literally, CK's driving, and I reach back and I open it, and I'm like, what in the world is this MacGyver?
This thing is electrical tape to the high heavens we don't even know how to discern what this thing is. Mac starts unwrapping it, and we're reading some of the labeling, and now we're Googling the stickers on the back, and sure enough, it's a 4.7 star rated GPS tracker that gives live updates of speed and a bunch of other telemetry details about your car. And we're like, now it's personal and it's on. So I'm like, I take it from somewhere in the 105 range to the 120 range instantly. I'm like, they want to know where we are? Come find us.
Strategy is definitely playing a part right at the beginning. So we decided to pull back a little bit from them, get our first fuel stop. For the once in my racing career, we actually have a very efficient and quick fuel stop.
I had in our mind 3 or 4 fuel stops we could get to, and I just wanted to see exactly where they got off, because then I could start charting out the rest of the strategy for the rest of the race. And so when we saw that they got off at Springer, which was much earlier than I anticipated, I was like, holy cow, we could have an advantage here where they could potentially have to stop 2 more times than we have to stop.
We meet them at our first checkpoint at, I think, Cartopia, just outside of Trinidad. And first checkpoint, boys.
Dude, nobody anticipated that these Beetles are the most inefficient fuel.
Dude,
So bad.
Your aluminum V8 Lexus with 37. Seriously, you're not.
You gotta do Millie in that. Yeah, holy moly.
So we're down with a little deficit at the first checkpoint, but it's day one, still early, a lot of stuff to go.
After Autotopia, we switched drivers. Now Mac is driving. We're not pushing tremendously hard in the second leg of the race, but we are wanting to make sure that we're keeping them over the 100-mile-an-hour mark. We're just like, we got them. We just got to keep pushing. Next, the checkpoint is Garden of the Gods.
I had done a lot of preparation the day before, knowing what to look for in Garden of the Gods. But when we pull into Garden of the Gods, we're doing no wake zone the whole time in Colorado Springs. So we're going slow, hitting every red light, which is incredibly frustrating. And the intersection of Garden of the Gods, which is the sign is across the street from the visitor center. The intersection that is built is nothing like the intersection that is in Google Streets. I start to freak out, and I'm driving.
We're searching all over, can't find it. Time is ticking, and we're thinking to ourselves, all that lead that we've put in front of them by them having to take a fuel stop can be completely wiped out right now because we didn't prep enough to know where this sign is. We start kind of just ostrich necking around looking for this sign. We finally, after some time passes, find that the sign has been moved probably 400 or 500 feet down into a field of wildflowers off the side of the road. Very difficult to see, and thankfully we see it. We jump out of the car. It's like a full-on sprint to get to this thing, click the picture, and take a deep breath.
We're here at the Garden of the Gods, and man, God is good. He does not like the 10 car.
We've made it to the checkpoint before they have, but we don't know by how much.
And then I'm like, holy cow, they probably don't know about this sign. And our car is sitting on the street with the flashers on. So, and I'm like, holy cow, this could be a huge deal. So I sprint, run as fast as I can. My heart rate's probably 180 beats per minute. Get in the car and then go park it in the parking lot, hidden where they can't see it if they're coming. And lo and behold, that one move may have completely changed the race because they didn't see us.
We come in, we get through the roundabout, and we're looking over to the left, and we don't see a sign exactly where we thought it was. Okay, so maybe it's just a little bit further up, and then the road takes me to the right, and Brian's like, hey, you gotta stop, you gotta turn around. And I'm like, Brian, I can't. We're on a one-way.
This one way is taking us on a roughly 5-mile scenic loop of the Garden of the Gods at 5 miles an hour. And the clock is just ticking away. What we thought was gonna be there was just not there. And I think we lost 12 minutes or so searching for this sign, which we eventually found and had to throw it in park and run across downhill across the field of sunflowers to find our sign. We got our picture, but Google was off. We missed it, and we could not find our checkpoint to save our lives.
By the time we found out our deficit, I believe it was 1330 was the delta. And looking ahead of the race, I've done some research on a lot more things in this race. So
we're off the clock now, but we go and check into our hotel, which is the Broadmoor. And that's where we're meeting up with our friend Andrew. And Andrew and his brother-in-law Scott joined us last year on the race. But before we get to our room, I do pay the valet $20 to read me the fuel level of the .99 car. And he says, yeah, they're one tick below 3/4 of a tank. And I'm shook.
We got to meet up with our good buddy Andrew, and it was awesome to have him there because he was a great asset in being able to place a couple well-timed Smirnoff Ices right at the door, right when we entered, and we allowed CK and Mac to go and fall on that sword. And it was just a great way to kick off the first night of Mille Mille, slamming 2 ices at the same time.
So day 2 takes us from Colorado Springs to Aspen. The way that the route from Colorado Springs to Aspen is not the most direct, but it is probably the most scenic possible way to get to Aspen. We are stopping, our photo checkpoint is at the Royal Gorge Bridge, a place that I've heard about and always wanted to check out, but never been in the area. And after Royal Gorge Bridge, we are taking Independence Pass, which is only open a few months a year. Very, very excited to do that route.
Before leaving Broadmoor and Colorado Springs, there's always going to be some shenanigans. There's some stickers exchanged both ways.
One of our main rules is that no car can stay unattended, but we broke our own rules. We left the car unattended for a period of time, and Brian and Shane have had a period of time with our car. There are now new stickers.
And, you know, Bruno told me that he added a couple extra stickers.
Some people like betting risk-free, so they put laser systems on their cars to jam out police jammers. While it is a very nice $2,500 police evasion system, I realized that for about 17 cents of Gorilla Tape, we could neutralize it.
Brian has put a Saudi Arabian flag and he's taped it to the back of our car. There's a bunch of obscene bumper stickers. I'm just shaking my head, like, how could we be so foolish as to leave our car unattended with these clowns? So already upset at ourselves, but we have pole position, so we're gonna make the best out of it. We have just a slight delta of 13 minutes leaving on day 2.
Leaving there and heading south towards Canyon City and Royal Gorge, we pretty much hit construction right away. We really just tuck it in. We know that we're trying to stretch our gas. We're trying to get to Salida for our fuel strategy. So it's like, just take what it's given us.
We get to Royal Gorge Bridge, and one of the big Mille bingo squares was to zip line across the gorge. That is, I mean, over, I think, 1,000-foot drop or something like that. CK representing .99 and myself representing Dynaco.
We ride the tram over this, I've never seen a more vast crevice in the earth. So much fun. We ride the zip lines.
We strap up and we send it across this gorge, sandals and all. And I did think I was gonna lose my sandals. They held on, my shins cramped up from holding them straight up, but we did get across and it was an absolute blast. But it was an incredible moment and incredible scenery. So that was fun, and then it was back to racing mode.
But coming out of Royal Gorge, we have a 50-mile stretch roughly to Salida. The Arkansas River Valley and through the canyons next to the river from Royal Gorge to Salida is some incredible driving. And CK drove that stretch, he's driving that stretch and just absolutely annihilates it.
We were going down this snaky loop and windy turns right down near the rivers. Absolute breathtaking views, but absolutely hairy making passes. At some points we're crossing double lines. We are just doing anything we can to get back and carve away at this deficit because we know that they're hammering down too, and we just have to hope that they get stuck behind an RV or a fifth wheel or something that just slows them down while we can take advantage and keep passing, keep making our way up. And when we pull up to Salida, our photo checkpoint is another train car that I looked up literally the night before, and it says on the photo, it says 1 day ago, and it shows a picture, a user image that was generated. And we get there.
And for the second time, the photo checkpoint that we have identified does not exist where it says it exists. And we're circling and we're circling, and it's just so frustrating when you've driven as hard as you have and taken the chances that you have to watch time tick and tick and tick. And finally, we look at where we believe the car should have existed, and there's a sign. Just the day previously, they pulled the train car for restoration and replaced it with a sign that said, "Be back soon," basically. Take a picture next to the sign, and now it's time for lunch and a cold beer. My nerves are shot. I've been driving white knuckle.
And CK quite literally throws the keys at me as soon as we get out of the car. And he's like, "I'm done. I am not doing this anymore." And so we sit down for lunch and we're chilling out, and he's calming down and his pulse rate's coming down. The guys get there and we start figuring out the delta. And so we start talking about, hey, like, you know, we got to get home. Like, we got some stuff that matters at home. There's a lot of people that depend on us, and we love our families. And so
we decided no double line passing. We got to abide by the dotted lines, and no red light running, like all of that. But it's still full send. You can still send it with discretion. Coming out of Salida, we agreed upon the net delta rule, which we are calling the Wyoming rule, if you remember from the 2021 race. This is something to be able to mitigate all the times waiting at checkpoints and to be able to get us all to the final destination for that day at a reasonable time.
And so we all agree to enforce that. And I'm fully knowing, I'm like, oh, we got a gas stop right after this. It'll take 4 or 5 minutes tops. We'll still have 5-minute track position. We'll be fine. It'll be great. And so we leave lunch and get in the car, and we pull into this gas station. None of the cards work. CK runs up to pay the attendant. Back in 5 is a sign that's on the door.
Well, that was a gas station fill-up fail. So they're off to the next. They don't know where they're going. They just got their card declined twice.
And we're like, this is insane. How in the hell is this going on? Is this possible? And I knew from my research, I said, there's another gas station, like 14 miles out. Our light had just turned on. It's like, we can get there. It's fine. So we get in the car and we go.
We're flying down the highway, and I am Googling this gas station to make sure that their credit card machines are work. So I pull out my phone to call it. The gas station is permanently closed. Heart sinks. I say, Mac, that gas station is permanently closed. We have to go back. He slams the brakes. We come to a 4-wheel skid. He turns around, and we're flying back into Salida as fast as we can. We get back to the gas station. Now there's cars at every pump, and it's a bustling gas station again. We pull up, put the card in, see attendant. You gotta be kidding me. I grab my wallet, I sprint inside. There is 3 people waiting in line, 1 cashier, and I am waiting very impatiently. Finally, I take $100, I say, put $80 on pump 3, and the pump turns on. So there we go, max pumping. Problem is, clearly the woman didn't understand how much that I actually wanted. She put like $19.36, and the pump just shuts off.
And CK is like, what in the world is going on? She's like, oh, your friends just came through here. And we're like, what in these MFers? And so I had just finished the $19 and I see the 10 car leave.
So she turns the pump back on, Mac's filling, and I'm like, they had already filled up. There's only one gas station in town, and all of a sudden this lady's just screwing with us. So I'm like, they paid off the cashier.
God honest truth, we had nothing to do with that gas fill up, but we definitely got a great advantage out of it. But at this point in the race, so many mind games are going left and right. We figured, let's roll with it. The mind games, let's just keep them thinking that we're so many steps ahead of them that they start overthinking everything.
And I don't know if I've ever been more mad at Millie. Ever. I drove like it. I may have driven that car harder than I've ever driven before. And we had, between then and Twin Lakes, which was our next no wake zone, it was like 33 miles. I made up 4 minutes in 33 miles. So we catch up to them and we still have our 7.5 minute advantage at the bottom of Independence Pass.
Independence Pass is absolutely stunning. Beautiful mountain pass, and we have been driving our car hard now at this point probably for 550, 600 miles. We are physically in the lead. We still have a negative delta applied to our car thanks to our net delta rule, but physically we are ahead of the .99 car who has caught up to us at this point in time. We're on a double yellow line and we're a couple miles from the top of the pass. So this is a no passing zone. They can't pass us. We know that. We're good. And we're just kind of cruising it in for our photo op at the top of Independence Pass.
So one of the Mille Bingo squares might not be so family friendly or PG rated, but we have discovered a term called nutscape. It is where you take a beautiful photo of a landscape with a well-placed nutsack in the frame. And as we are climbing the last leg before we make the turn at Pretty Overlook, our car just loses power.
Literally the power just cuts out. It's like fuel delivery stops or something's happening to the car. But we are going from, I'll call it 40 miles an hour down to 10. I mean, the car is noticeably slow, and then at some point basically it just re-engages or fuel resumes and we keep going again. We go another 50, 100 yards, 200 yards, and then it cuts out again, and we're just lurching up this hill. And we make it to the top of Independence Pass, and at this point we are deathly afraid that the .99 car is going to be like, hey, why is your car dying? Dodged a bullet, but we have closed the gap by 10 minutes.
We're standing up there in front of God and everybody. Mac just blurts out, and we know that you had a GPS in our car. And Shane and Brian just start cracking up. They think they are the funniest people on earth. And for some reason, Mac and I just don't see the humor in it. Anyway, we're walking back to the car and Brian says, I have one more surprise for you. And he goes over to our car and pulls off 2 little pieces of duct tape off of the front of our laser jammers. My jaw dropped. I was speechless. And also, I laughed because it's like, they're so freaking clever. They really are.
We're down 2 days now. There are some opportunities with Mille Bingo, and we feel like Aspen is a great place to check away at our boards.
End of day 2, we are coming into Aspen, and we are checking into the W Hotel. We aren't in the lobby, but 18, 20 seconds. And I see, Brian's checking us into the rooms and Shane's nowhere to be found.
First thing I decide to do is right when we get to the hotel, I know that this is the last pool that we can possibly come across on the race. And one of the squares, one of the challenges is to jump into a pool fully clothed. And I go up the elevator to the rooftop pool, and I was not expecting that many people to be up there. It is a party up there. There is barely any room in this pool. Everybody has a drink in their hand. Everybody's having a good time. I decided to go up, make it look like I'm a tourist and taking some photos. And I could see in the glass mirror where I was. So I was backpedaling, trying to pretend like I'm doing a vlog or something. And I just conveniently lose my footing and fall backwards into the little gap of pool that is not occupied by a swimmer or by a pool goer. Everybody's looking at me like, what the heck? So I go downstairs.
He emerges soaked head to toe. He's dressed in his clothes, but he is soaking wet, dripping all over the W Hotel lobby. And he's just cracking up. And he's like, well, this pool's taken. This is the last pool on our trip and you can't have it. I just took that bingo square.
We proceed to go on to a Mille bingo rampage, me and my partner. We get back up to that pool, now in our bathing suits. We get our photo bomb in, we get our public speech in front of a good group of people. We buy shots for some people and we're having a great time. It's a great kickoff to the night into Aspen. No bingo squares connected yet, but we've got a lot. We've created a big dent in that bingo board.
We leave Aspen and we are headed to Ouray for lunch. This is our next stop. So we're going through Paonia and Ridgeway, and we're covering a lot of ground through the mountains.
And so, you know, we've done passes before. I'll be quite honest, we didn't do research about construction issues before this point. We just drove it.
7 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock.
Starting
now. So we leave with our deficit, we hit the ground running, and we know we got to make a fill up, but we know we can get probably to Carbondale, and that is where we stop there. We have another smooth fill up.
We're getting back in the canyons. We're driving down, headed towards Paonia, and we're probably 10 miles outside of Carbondale, and we get our first flagman, our first pilot car situation where the 2-lane road is reduced to 1 lane, and each direction of traffic has to take turns, which means they stop traffic, period, altogether. And we're 30, 40 cars back, somewhere in that range. And right towards the front of this pack, we see the .99 Beetle, which has been stopped. So that means 30 or 40 cars ahead of us, with the clock running, the race is on, the .99 car is stopped. The gap and the delta is effectively 0, and we have a full tank of gas. We are in this race. Let's go!
And it was about that time where CK comes up with the bright idea that,
Mac, we are on race time. We can fill up. We have 5 gallons of reserve fuel. We put that 5 gallons in. That'll allow us to push. We can get to Ouray before we fill up, and then we will hit the Alpine Loop with a full tank of fuel, and we can make it through Lake City and keep trucking. I'm ripping the gas can out of the trunk, start pouring it, and it is coming out so slow.
This is beautiful. New race, boys. You pissed, Mac?
it is what it is, right?
Oh, that's Mille.
That's Mille.
That's incredible.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
We're seeing that the pilot car is coming. So now the one-way traffic from the other way is coming, and we're running out of time. Mac rips out a funnel. I take the cover off of the gas can, and I just start plowing this fuel in there as fast as I can. It's splashing all over me. Half of the fuel that I'm trying to pour in is on me or on the ground. It's a disaster fuel. And the cars start going. And I've got a gas can with no cap on it, and Mac's like, we have to go, we gotta go. So I jump in the car, I have a gas can with no cap on it, I'm covered in fuel. This is terrible.
CK literally spills gas all over him. I mean, CK is not feeling great to begin with because Mille can do that to you. And then our car reeks of gasoline, which this is not our first rodeo with this. We go, and CK is literally like stripping down into like taking his clothes off, throwing them in a trash bag. He's down to his boxers and like changing clothes while we're driving because it smells so bad.
You guys will never believe it, but Mackie and I, we're gonna be driving through Paonia here shortly. And we are gonna pay homage to our girl Betsy. We're gonna pass right by her memorial site, so I'll send you guys a video. I'm wearing nothing but a wife beater because I have gasoline all over me, so that's cool.
And then we reached the second stop. And the second stop, CK's like, I didn't get all the gas in there. I'm gonna go get the rest. And so he gets in the back, does the same thing, and this one's much, much shorter.
We get to that, and you know, Brian and Shane are probably 20 cars back. The light turns green, and we start going. It turns yellow. We know we have to gun it, because if we get through this, then they're stuck, and we can get back to Delta time and start putting distance between us and them. We get through the automated one-way construction zone, and then it's just one after another. And by the third or fourth one, I said, look, if they're gonna pay off gas station attendants, I don't see why we can't pay off flag guys. I say, hey, here's $100. If you see another bug come through here, shut it down. And he's like, all right, cool. Next one we get to, give the guy $60. That's all the cash I have. So we pay 2 flag guys, and we just start going.
So we hit one stop, all right, we hit one. We don't see Beetle, so they must have made it through. And we hit the next stop. We don't see the Beetle, we're up close, so I asked the guy, I get out of the car, and I was like, hey, how long is this stop? He's like, you know, it could be 5 minutes or so. I was like, well, how about a Beetle, just like our car, were they here before? He's like, you wanna know the real story? I'm like, wait, what? What's the real story? He's like, well, they paid me to stop you. It's like, wait, what? Well, how much does it cost me to open it up to go again? So I run back, I try to scramble to get however much cash we have to pay this guy to let us through, because he's literally just stopping us because he was paid to do so. And the guy just says, you're good. And he opens it and lets us go. So we lose another 2.5 minutes at that stop that literally didn't need to be stopped. And then we get to a third one, and this one luckily is a green light, and I yell at the guy, I was like, have you seen another Beetle like ours? And the look on his face was like, oh crap, I was supposed to stop him too. That guy was paid too, but he missed it. He did not see us come through, and we actually made that one. So out of the 6 stops in all, I think we only hit 2 of them, like running. Every 4 of them, we hit stops, and we were stopped time after time.
We race hard. We get to Ouray. Anyway, we calculate the delta.
So, time delta, completely eliminated, completely back, restored. 7:33 is the time delta.
Pretty amazing. I mean, granted, we started at 7:30, we got it down to 0 effectively. And then, you know, after bribe money has exchanged hands and the freeways have been closed in Colorado, to have only a 7:30 delta is not bad, really, on closed highways. So
we get to Animas Fork, switch drivers. Within a matter of 2 minutes, we're met with some steeper and gnarlier terrain than I even thought we were gonna be getting into. I mean, it's a hairpin right turn into an extremely steep grade with crumbling rocks and shale and sharp, large boulders. I realized the only way we're gonna get up this is throw caution to the wind. We just have to send it. Foot all the way to the floor, and I'm sending it up this mountain. There's rocks hitting the bottom. We are scraping and slamming into everything. I'm losing power. I mean, the car just at that altitude and with the terrain does not have the power to get through it.
And they're just powering through. We're falling, we give them a little bit of distance. We're losing power. We don't have anything. We sit there, we shut off the car, we try again, it doesn't work. We decide to go back to flat ground. We gotta let people pass.
So our car chokes out, it dies. When we sit there and let it rest for a minute, it has this idea that it recovers a little bit. We're able to go another 100 yards, dies, chokes out again. So we're struggling, but we're moving.
We get into this situation where we're on this pass, there's a fall on the other side. It's maybe 800 feet off the side, and there's no guardrail. There's none of this stuff. In our car, we have to pick our line. And there's a huge boulder that's sticking out of one side. So the only line is going as close as possible to the edge. CK gets in that and loses power, and the only way to get through that is you have to get the revs up and then drop the clutch and just power through that. But you lose traction doing that. And so we're losing traction, and I am freaked the F out on the passenger side looking down this 800-foot embankment. And we get through that, and it's like high fives and freaking hell yeah, that's awesome. And we see that the tin car gets stuck at the same spot, and they can't get through it.
We've tried everything at this point. We are just a little bit out of ideas, and we're running out of time because now the clock is ticking. This 20 minutes allowance to get over an obstacle is slowly ticking away. Brian decides, hey, the lowest gear is in reverse. Why don't we turn this thing around and try to reverse?
Shane, for proper driver protocol, throws on his cowboy hat and opens the sunroof and throws it in reverse and gives it full gas and absolutely sends it backwards uphill in a 2003 Volkswagen Beetle, up over the rocks, over the slopes, bumping, crashing, thrashing, over Cinnamon Pass backwards.
Go! 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 Oh my God! Go! Oh my God! Ah! Let's go!
Let's go!
And arrives victoriously at the summit of the pat, removes his cowboy hat, tosses it victoriously in the air, and at that moment, Reverse Cowboy was born.
Win or lose at this moment, we felt like we accomplished something in this moment. We got a vehicle that should not have any business on this road to the peak. Both of our vehicles got to the peak, and that moment I'll never forget because it will always go down in history as Reverse Cowboy over Cinnamon Pass.
From that point on, we fly in neutral all the way down the hill and try to nurse our cars. We're both really nursing them. There's check engine lights on, and so we get to the end and put our cars back together in Lake City and get ready for day 4.
Day 4, we stayed at Shane's cabin, a beautiful place in the remote town of Lake City. There is no cell service in Lake City, and cell service is kind of important in this race because you do a lot of prep in your races the night before to prep for the next leg. So leaving on day 4, we're kind of going into this blind because we would typically want to look and see where there's construction or what the unknowns are, and we just didn't have that ability to do that research.
So they're 12 and a half minutes behind to start day 4. I mean, at that point, it's going to be pretty hard for them to make up that difference just on track. Our car gets better mileage, can go faster. That's a lot of time, barring some crazy unforeseen thing. I had just looked at the Colorado DOT website, the New Mexico DOT website, saw that the route through Santa Fe had a single one-way construction zone, and the way through Pagosa Springs over Wolf Creek Pass had 4 construction zones, but they were a little bit more nondescript. And at the grocery store, CK and I compare notes, and CK tells me, he's like, I know that there's construction, but all of that road is 4-lane road. He's like, the worst thing that happens is it's a lane reduction, but he's like, I just can't see that it's gonna be completely stopped.
So I talked to Brian, hey, this is what we gotta do. I know that they're gonna wanna take the Jicarilla. That is their route, and hey, let's let that happen. Let's take the more direct route. It's got a few more towns you gotta get through than the other route. So yes, the Jicarilla route would be faster in theory, but if you hit construction stops, it's not as fast. But we still gotta get over Slumgullion Pass, and we have not been doing very good on passes, and I'm not confident that our car is going to get us over.
Captain Sully's driving the wheels off the car, and we make it through Alamosa, and we know about this flag stop that is coming up.
And we're climbing up to Tres Piedras. That was my intel. I still feel confident that I got worthy intel. I see a big train of cars come through. I'm like, kinda looks like they just got sent through together. Like starting to think through, I'm like, oh man, is this intel right? I get up and we see cars stacked after another, and we see a stop, and we see a construction worker with a pilot car, and what couldn't happen happened. The guy gave me false intel, and maybe the .99 car paid him too, because this moment is kind of the deal breaker in this race, I think.
Sure enough, here we are fighting from behind, taking an alternate strategy, 20 plus minutes in the hole, and now we hit the flagman on top of it. But yeah, in a nutshell, we had a picnic lunch, took a little nap, got some massages. We had plenty of time to think about all of our decisions in life. And then the flagman, you know, said, all right, you're good to go. And we motored on through there. And at this moment in time, you know, we basically knew that the race was over. So just got back in the car and turned on some Zach Bryan and just kept driving.
Yeah, gosh, there's a lot that happens from this stretch. I mean, we almost rear-ended somebody in town. We hit a bunch of town. We hit a lot of traffic. There was cops everywhere. And I can't remember exactly where it was, but maybe around Santa Fe, you know, maybe an hour left to go in the race. Our car starts sputtering out again. Now we're not even at elevation. Now it's just, I don't know if it's just are overheating or pushing this car too hard, but we are losing power. We're on freeways, we're losing power. We're on traffic, we're losing power. At this point, we don't have what it takes to win this race. We've known that. We know that they have probably crossed the finish line. At this point, it is a race to finish.
We basically put it in cruise at 75 just to make sure we're not doing anything too crazy with the revs or the fuel system. And yeah, we kind of limp it home from Santa Fe. At this point, you know, we've received some text message communications that in fact the .99 car has arrived to the finish line.
And we made it. Let's take a picture right now. Right now. CK, selfie.
Yeah! Did we win?
Yeah! I think you won by a long shot.
We know what's happening. We know the race is over, but we decided to finish in style.
In good Dynaco fashion, we're gonna get through the finish line reverse cowboy.
Ran all the way through it. No.
Maybe the last 38 miles in reverse.
We crossed through, and we know we have not won, but we've made it. Both teams, both cars have made it. All 4 drivers have survived. It is a great feeling to get to the finish line of a Mille race.
That's how we ended the race, and what a race it was. Just an incredible, incredible experience. Beautiful places, beautiful scenery, some drama, some excitement, lots of laughs.
We've done a lot of miles now at high speeds, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was an incredible experience, incredible moments along the way. We didn't get them this year, but next year we're gonna get a ton of investment dollars, and we're gonna funnel all of that money into our car. And we'll be ready to race with our $100,000 vehicle.
Mille 4 is my favorite Mille of all time. For a lot of different reasons, there's a lot of things going on in all of our lives.
I truly enjoy getting to spend time with the 4 brosmen. These are men that I admire and love very much, and that's what it's all about. We go to amazing places, and I hope that we continue to do this for a long, long time. Do I think that it's going to change? Absolutely, because we won, so it has to change. So I'm sure that next year there will be an entirely new rule book.
You know, at the current format we're going at, we'll see how long we can sustain that. So I don't know, maybe we'll throw some wrinkles in the future years, but we'll see. Either way, it's Mille, Mille, Mille. It's a good group, and it's a good time, and that is for sure something that will always be there, is a good time with the bros.
We won. I'm really glad that we won. But more than that, I'm really glad about the experience and the memories. And the win is truly secondary, because that's not really what it's about.
It's a great race. Mille Millions was awesome. I think next year maybe we'll do Dubai, I don't know, like Qatar, you know, UAE. I don't even know the names of those places, but like, since money is no object, we'll probably just fly them in like a 787, like across the world or something like that, and then just offload them. I mean, probably have enough money to enter Formula One, actually, if I'm thinking about it. Like,
I'm hoping that they haven't had enough of losing and they still want to compete, because I have so much fun with it. But in whatever format that Brian and Shane come up with, we'll be ready to compete and we'll be ready to win.
Hola, mi nombre es Santi Moar y vamos a hacer esta entrevista en español para añadirle un poquito más de esencia y de internacionalismo a esta.
I'm Santi Moar, big fan, not racing right now, but it's about time you guys know all the truth. So I'm actually the guardian of all the big secrets and intel for Mille Mille. I didn't place any GPS trackers on the cars. However, Dinoco number 10 provided me all exclusive access to that information. Brian did tell me, please, can you go to your computer, log in with this account, and create a geofence? So when these guys hit a town, you gotta tell me where they are, what speed are they going, and every detail. And I'm like, Brian, you know what? I really cannot participate in this because I will be having an impact in the future of this race. And I'm a neutral guy here. I think Mille Mille is a brilliant format that should be adopted by many different countries around the world.
What's Bruno working on over here?
this is a GPS tracker. It tells you the speed and location of the opponent's vehicle if used properly, and the direction of orientation. So this one's labeled 0.99. We already have put a tracker into our own cars. We can track ourselves.
Yeah, to make it fair.
Yeah. Now I understand how, you know, when Neymar Jr. went to go play in Saudi Arabia, I feel like PSG, I feel like the French. I don't even know what to say. Can't even compete with these outrageous level of spending.
Not doing it. The cushion's fine.
So when I struck oil in the middle of the Arabian desert,
Rich oil family. 3, 2, 1, start. I can't even fucking hold it.
I race for Big Red. All right.
You used my tape?
He tears it up.
I do remember giving you that tape. To add insult to injury, the fact that you used our own tape because you weren't even prepared enough to have your own, unbelievable.